Numero 9. Guys, great to have you. Great to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yes.
How are you, Lorena? What's happening?
Amazing. Unbelievable.
Just to give everybody a heads up, we're probably going to break this up into two parts. So we're going to do a episode number 9.5. Or 9 and 9.5. Or just
9.5.
9 part 1 and part 2.
Part 1 and part 2, right? Let's not. Guys, moving on to the military deployment. I mean, talking about the expansion of our presence, going back to the situation that's taking place. Obviously, Taiwan is an issue. Romania, just because it's close to Ukraine and there's a risk of something coming through that side. So we put in an additional 4,000 soldiers just in that combination. There's a commitment also to increase additional presence all throughout Europe, just to put a little more pressure on Europe. But that includes an additional 12,000 American troops that are currently based already out of Western Poland.
Yeah.
Which we always had a base, we always had a presence in that area, in that territory. But the total, are you ready for this one? The total amount of people that we're looking to now have as active duty personnel outside of the United States is 170,000 people that we have to sustain for the benefit and the security of other countries.
But we're not at war.
But so I mean, directly no. By proxy we are. We're definitely by proxy. And by the way, so there's many ways about this.
Yeah.
I have a very specific opinion about these things and when they truly become a necessity. But I want to get your take a little bit on this.
Do you know what the numbers was during 9/11? How much we sent out initially?
How many we already had out there? Because the complaint, even for President Biden, for President Trump before he got elected. Well, that was one of the major topics of when he was campaigning. It's like we have so many bases, unnecessary bases, and he started the process of bringing troops back home. So I know that. It was probably at one of the lowest levels. You know what I mean? But I don't have the exact number. Yeah. Around those days, 9/11.
So I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like it's one of those things because I remember when we started taking troops out of different places in Iraq. Then all of a sudden, a lot of crazy stuff started happening. Like the next day, they was like, "All right, soldiers aren't here. We're gonna go crazy." So I feel like the position that we're in. We need to know what position we're in. If we're going to be one of the superpowers or the superpower of the world, you can't take that lightly. You can't not have a presence in certain areas. I don't know what's too much or too little bit. Now, am I looking forward for World War III? No. Not looking forward to it. But at the same time, I think we have to have a presence in certain areas. Now, I don't know what's too much or too little, but I think you have to. You have to.
So here's where I'm at, because there was a scary picture that was happening, and is President Xi from China and this guy in Russia getting together. It's like, why are we pushing these countries together that are like enemies of the United States, right? And like they're actually becoming friends, So it's the whole concept of the friend of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, type of thing. So that is a scary thing. But if we are really at war, let's call it for what it is and let's go do something about it. It's very wishy-washy, and anytime where like wishy-washiness is happening, somebody gets hurt and we're vulnerable. So I agree with what you're saying. The other thing is, what moves are we making? Why were those moves not happening before? Like, what about our current administration is putting us in a place where the Russian guy, right, Putin, and Xi from China, and I think somebody from Iran, right? This guy from Iran is too. They're getting together and they're saying, hey, we should something about the nuclear. Russia dropped the nuclear treaty that they have. That's a scary thing, because it's like, how do you? That's opening up the doors to saying, is there a nuclear war going to be happening anytime soon? And so, how are we preparing? I don't know, but the more and more.
I think that we know that we have the ability to truly eliminate each other. We got to be very careful. But the problem is when you put somebody against the wall. And when you corner somebody to the point that it leaves them no choice. You know what I mean? Again, desperate people will always take make desperate choices.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, listen, it boils down to what is the financial interest that we have in these places. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Did we really have that much of a financial interest when it came to the relationship with Europe? Remember, before this happened, the Russia is in a very good place financially. I mean, they are producing billionaires left and right. They selling just about everything that they had when it comes to natural resources, oil, gas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really had a very so. United States have to think in terms of what is the financial interest or what is the risk that we run. What happens if a real alliance takes place where it's not that Russia is being assimilated by Europe, it's that Russia is another player partnering up with Europe, and that can potentially push the United States out of it. Is that a good idea financially? Is that economically for United States? So but by the way, I'm telling you this because the more that you go deeper into the financial interest observation, what are we doing in Taiwan? If not saying, okay, we need to protect right now Japan, we need to protect Taiwan itself, right? Part of it because you want to limit the influence that China is going to have in the area, but we do have a financial interest in there, right? And the same it goes through Europe. So let me start by saying the following. If a country is going to be out there policing the world, I'm 100% for the United States to be that country.
100%. Yeah. I
Right?
agree. Yeah.
And whether we like it or not, that's precisely what we do.
Yeah.
So I mean, we shouldn't be out there policing. Trust me, we need to be out there.
Right.
Because if we're not out there,
be
somebody's
ridiculous.
coming to us.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the longer that you are out there, and everybody says, well, that's provocation, and eventually that's the reason why somebody's going to come to us. No, somebody's going to come to us no matter what.
Yeah.
And they just get bigger and stronger when we don't have a presence
Right.
out there.
Well, I mean, because it's the whole concept of when you're playing a game, right? If you just go and you go on defense instead of playing offense, you get
Correct.
scored on.
Yeah.
Is that if you're not going actively looking to win, then that so. Is that what you're kind of
Well,
saying?
yeah, but let me go back even a little deeper into the financial interest. Imagine if countries like Russia and Germany
Become
actually
friends?
decided
That's a
to
problem.
really come together and say,
Yeah.
you know what? Hey, listen, we're gonna keep supplying the sort of cheap prices, so and so. Let's start merging a little bit of your production is far superior to quality what you produce, better organized. Transportation system, everything in when it comes to Germany is 1,000 times more
Cleaner,
advanced than what
effective.
Russia. Even though what Russia really has ahead of everybody is more nuclear capability than any other country. So the problem with that treaty that you were talking about is that by the time they stop producing, we started reducing our stockpile. They like, all right, you guys cut it back a little
Reduce,
bit.
yeah. We're gonna stay
We're not
where
gonna
we're
do
at.
more.
Yeah.
Like we
But we're
keep
gonna stay
in
where
our
we're
stuff,
at.
right?
That's
Yeah.
fine.
And so that is a significant problem if we're gonna go back to now. If we're producing again, we got to start in that game of production. They are ahead of us, and I mean by a significant size. And make no mistake about it. Between the United States and Russia, 90% of the nuclear power is concentrated on these two countries. But going back to the financial issue, it's not. We are fighting a proxy war through Ukraine, and some people can actually argue that one of the reasons why we're fighting that war is because we actually needed to make Russia weaker financially. So how do you do that? Well, you shock the economy, make them tumble quickly, make them make a few mistakes, make them spend a lot of money on
a war.
especially on a war that more than likely. I mean, listen, this is how we won the Cold War. We ended up outspending them. We're going to the moon. We're going to this. We're going to space with more nuclear. So once everybody realized these guys are not in a very strong financial position, that's how with more financial pressure, and that triggered essentially the collapse of the Soviet Union without firing a single bullet. I don't know how it's going to play out this thing, but it looks like a movie I watched before. You know what I mean? Just because it's the same kind of financial pressures. And but I am concerned about, obviously the number is probably one of the highest that we had in a long time. I am concerned about, lack of transparency and lack of clarity and lack of honesty about what we are doing there, right? Opposed to saying, and that's what Trump was such a phenomenon.
Yeah.
What are we doing in Syria? We're gonna go in there too. It's like no, it's for the oil. We want there. It's like, don't say that. You can't. No. We are there for the oil.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with taxes? You abusing the tax system. Of course I'm maximizing the tax. The guy was like, that's why he was such a phenomenon.
Yeah.
No. It's not just about why don't you. He was running against people like Hillary Clinton. What he said. You've been part of this system for 40 years. You have the chance to fix it.
That's fine.
You created the system. Now you're angry that I'm using it?
That's
And everybody was like, okay, we never heard that before. This is a white guy telling everybody the truth, right?
Yep.
And so how do you deal with a situation where you don't know 100% how transparent, how honest your own government is going about what the hell are we doing in there?
Yeah.
And so I want to say that my perspective upgraded a little bit to see it from a financial perspective. I want to see 100% the numbers, and see where this whole thing is going to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Something we got to pay attention to.
The other thing that I'm thinking about is, again, I'm talking about Russia and China making friends, and we're very dependent on China right now when it comes to a lot of the stuff that we're producing and stuff like that. So that's also really scary because this guy can just be like, you're poking this guy, you're supporting these guys, let's shut this down. And then we end up in a...
We are also putting a lot of pressure.
Making stuff in Honduras.
We putting a lot of pressure. I you know what? That is the unfortunate side, that no Latin American country yet has found a way to benefit from everything that's going on here. I mean, just keep it on this side of the continent.
Right.
You know what I mean? Why do we need to go to India? Why do we need to go to China? And I'm putting that out there
Even
because
Taiwan. We make
it just
a lot of
doesn't
stuff in
make sense.
Taiwan.
Yeah, I promise you that if Colombia was doing what Taiwan was doing, if we had a Mexico that had the capability, by the way, Mexico is super capable to compete with even Japan.
That's true.
They're just not doing it. You know what I mean? Because again, the level of corruption and the
competing on a
government.
different level.
Let me tell you something. The government structure in Mexico is so complicated that it's a miracle that it actually functions. You know what I mean? And so. You look at countries like Brazil, you look at Argentina, you look at any of these countries. If the level of corruption was just a little lower, right? They would have. Look at Venezuela. I mean, when you're talking about you guys are like literally say, hey, listen, we're gonna show you exactly how to ruin a country
in 25 years, in 22 years.
And it'll take you 200 years to get it back to what I mean, it's just...
Literally.
You know what I mean? So, but the moment that those things will shift 100% to this side of the continent, we don't have a reason to be anywhere.
Yeah.
We don't have... And I truly believe that then how we will be applying protection will be something completely different. Not the way we're doing it right now, but right now, we absolutely, unfortunately, do need to have that many people out there just to keep an eye. The intelligence community is doing a lousy job also right now. They need to have, boots on the ground just to make sure that we know what the hell is going on out there. You think about the families, you think about the people. By the way, when you think about the people that are dying in this war right now, right? And if it at the end is just turned out to be a financial game, you know what I mean? It's unfortunate the amount of people that are dying. You know what I mean? It's like they say that wars are provoked by people with a lot of money, usually old people, and they are fought by young broke people.
Correct. Yeah. Who's getting these contracts?
And when you see exactly the amount of people that are dying in these places, super scary to see this kind of situation. The other day there was a man, it's just fascinating to see this. Sometimes you will come to somebody who's a real journalist and was asking a very simple question. He said, it appears to me that it was NATO that ended up provoking Russia. Meaning, we started to bring our weapons closer to Russia and more countries joining NATO. So NATO expanded. their position, expanded their position to the point that they were getting closer to Russia. It's not that Russia said, let me go grab this, I'm putting more weapons over there. So let me give you an example of how we would be jumping up and down and probably behaving and doing this. The behaving probably even more aggressively than what Russia's doing. Think about the Cuban missile crisis that we had back in God knows when that was, right? And everybody was like freaking out. What? The potential possibility of nuclear weapons being, 90 miles away from us, right? Think about if right now Russia decided to put a military warning system along the borderline of Canada, just in case we fire something. Imagine if somewhere in Matamoros, Mexico, right around that corner of the border, where, would we allow something like that to happen?
No,
so
there's
why
no way.
is it okay for us to think that? By the way, listen, guys, I'm not. What was taking place there between Russia and Ukraine is extremely painful to watch. The amount of innocent people that are dying, but there's a lot of people, as always, playing with money, playing with politics, playing with investments that are with things that are that are costing a lot of people a lot of lives. So I'm looking at our troops, and I'm saying I hope everybody's going to stay safe. I hope they don't have to, get personally involved on some of these fights, meaning they are more from a supervisory type of, we're training and we're helping other people, strategic. That's the reason why we have strategy there.
Yeah.
That's one of the books that I'm going to be recommending today. I don't know if anybody feels like reading that size of a book, but I highly recommend because it's a combination of many things. But anyway, that my take on that, guys, is that we don't know what the real intentions, and as the more this thing is actually developing, it's not that clear anymore who the real bad guy is and was. At the very beginning, we were straight up. It's like, what the hell is wrong with Putin? What the hell is wrong with Russia?
Yeah.
And then you go into a whole process and you're saying, what's going on here? What are we doing there?
I was saying that even in the beginning. And because what happens is this, and sometimes we'll see it from different perspectives. It's like we always assume America's awesome. Because we're Americans, America is the greatest. And don't get me wrong.
It is.
America is awesome.
It
I'm
is.
about to ask you to stand up right now and get out of here. What do you mean?
That's a
We make
safe,
mistakes.
that is
But it's
a
like
safe assumption to make.
Yes, America is awesome. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Here's the problem
What
with
are
that.
you-
Here's the
make
problem
your
with that.
point.
I'm gonna make it. Here's the problem with that idea is that once you believe that, not saying you shouldn't. Like I said, don't get me wrong. I'm not going anywhere else.
Correct.
I was born in America. I'm not leaving.
You're not.
That's
That's your problem.
I'm not going anywhere.
You don't realize
No. But here,
You
this is
don't
important.
realize
This is
how
important.
awesome it is.
He's not taking the translator, packing up to Cuba. I go to Cuba.
We're not doing that. No. But at the same time, is when you have that idea, sometimes you believe it's like I think my parents are the smartest in the world. It's like, no, they could make mistakes too.
Correct.
They don't know everything. So I'm not saying there's a place better than us. What I'm saying is we're not perfect. And guess what? There are some times where we have interests that benefit us and only us. And then that means that somebody else is going to suffer because of it. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to stay on this side. But at the same time, I could see how you can definitely say, okay, maybe we could have did that a little differently. Because even earlier you said, I'm looking at the chessboard here, right? It's like if you don't play offense, right, then you can't just sit there, right? But playing offense, so with chess, there's a time where you're going to kill the other pieces, right? But sometimes you don't need to kill the other pieces if you just position yourself correctly. Then you can still win the game with minimal damage just by positioning yourself correctly. But that's a different philosophy. That's a different strategy. So then, yes, you still got to move. You got to do something. But that doesn't always mean, all right, we're gonna
Wait, is that true? Can you win the game without minimal damage?
Absolutely.
This game, as a matter of fact, aggressiveness, the game of chess, aggressiveness without you really knowing what you're doing. Talking about a game that really reflects life, right? Without you really knowing what you do, is you putting yourself out there literally to get hurt quickly.
Got it.
And so somebody that knows how to play the game, it doesn't matter how aggressively you come out, they can just wait for you to continue to make one stupid mistake after another, and talking about again a game that mirrors life. You know what I mean?
You should have a grandmaster run for
that-
president.
By the way, just so you know, you had a chess champion, as a matter of fact, a master chess champion running for president of Russia, which is
Oh wow.
Karpov. You know what I mean? There was
That's
Kasparov. You know what I mean?
Said the wrong country.
Yeah, but it was Russia.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and-
exactly.
Go play chess, children.
Karpov or Kasparov, one of those two guys. As a matter of fact, he actually played against IBM Blue. Is called the system that was
Oh, wow.
developed
And beat him.
and actually won and lost against
Oh, wow.
the absolute. Talking about AI developing.
Yeah,
this
it's a
is
big
like, by the way, just so you know,
Yeah.
this was like 15 years ago, you know, something like that. Maybe even 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That technology was already there. When you're looking at everything that's taking place, our educational system, some of the messaging that is out there right now, and then you have a guy who's saying, you are not going to bring that craziness here from the
get it.
West. And they make an incredible argument about the need to make the family unit stronger, and that is good for the country,
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
And that should be no issue, and that they are going to be the defenders of Christianity, the defenders of life, the defenders of, like, this guy is making an argument. If this guy was running in the United States, he would be one of the most efficient conservative candidates that you can actually have running for office, and because his message, you know what I mean, was again, he's making an argument about the things that he's got to do to protect his country, and we spoke about that potential threat, right? That is not that he was actually the Russia was expanding. I mean, the whole situation with Crimea, obviously, gives it a black eye, right? Because that was an act of expansion, right? But they go back to the same argument. We're not bringing weapons in front of
Right.
anybody. You bringing weapons
Right.
to us. What
Yeah.
if I did that?
You're in
You know what
my
I mean?
bubble.
Yeah,
type
yeah.
of thing.
And so, you know, listen, this is no longer a simple issue to judge. Make no mistake about it, without the situation that happened in Ukraine, this man today would be probably one of the most significant leading voices when it came to a lot of these so-called conservative values that we've been talking about, and even from a religious perspective, the Russian Orthodox Church aggressively growing, coming across as a lot more stronger than if you put that guy, and we're gonna find the image so that you can actually see the current patriarch of the Orthodox, the Russian Orthodox Church, next to the current Catholic Pope, and you have to say, who do you think is going to have the ability to protect? Who looks stronger?
Who's running the place?
Who's going to strong? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the guy running the place, and who's cleaning the? I will tell you, you're going to be extremely surprised.
Yeah.
And as much as a lot of people are conflicted about that, especially because of the amount of people dying, because you can't ignore that that's an incredible tragedy, right? That
Yeah, it
should
totally
have
is.
never gotten to the point to where it is right now. The fact that we didn't have the ability to go back to the drawing table, to negotiate, to say stop it, some concessions for you, some concessions. There's nothing at the end of the day. Nothing will justify the amount of innocent people.
That
And
are
again,
dying, yeah.
politicians, army people, anybody that makes a choice to be in that environment. But, the amount of innocent people that died, that's extremely unfortunate. So for me, to be quite honest with you, what I'm hoping to see is people that will challenge both positions a little more, because the narrative for a long time has been, and for the majority continues to be, oh, bad Russia, bad Putin, bad. And I think that we need to start also looking at the other side and saying, okay, what is the game plan here? What do you want to do? Because, by the way, just so that you know, we are the ones that are putting the bulk of the money when it comes to this fight against Russia. So we are the ones fighting that war. We also have something to do with the amount of people that are dying in there. There's no clean hands here. There's blood, plenty of blood, to go around for everyone. So I do hope, but I'm inviting everybody, go watch the speech yourself. You know what I mean? I think you can make an assessment of what as to whether or not he's making a good
I've heard Putin speak a couple times. He never seemed, like I said, crazy. But the issue is that at the end of the day, when you have two teams that are both fighting for position, then you feel inclined to say, oh, this is my team, right? So then automatically the other team, no matter what they do or say, sounds wrong. But that doesn't mean that a person could be 100% crazy, even if they're not on necessarily the wrong side. Because you can have good, values and principles, but still be like, doing things that,
Listen,
so then it's a weird thing. Because at the end of the day, somebody's gonna come out as a loser. And then you don't want it to be your side that's the loser. So then it's like, now I have to judge this other person on multiple levels.
Correct.
But like I said, I'm not saying I agree with everything they're doing. I'm just saying you don't have to be crazy to say, okay, like if I want to protect my family, let me give you an example. Let's say I want to protect my family and somebody comes in my house and I decide to kill all these people that come in my house.
Yeah.
It's easy for you to say, if those were one of your family members that I killed, what was wrong with you? Why'd you kill my family? But you don't understand.
They came into my house.
They came into my house. I had to protect my, but then depending on where the camera was shot and how the story is told, it can exactly. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you don't want innocent people to die, because guess what? If I killed the people who came to my house when I used the bomb and also killed the people across the street, now it's like it becomes a bigger issue.
So here's where I'm at with the message. Here's my invitation. When you're listening to the message, remove the fact that it came from this guy. I think if that message would have come from anybody, specifically this video, specifically the little clip, but we can actually put a link below for people to take a look at it. But it's like, specifically this video, remove the person, and especially because it's said in Russian, you can actually read it. Yeah. And when you actually look at the message and you see what he's saying, a lot of the things make sense. A lot of the things, there's a lot of good values and principles that there is a literal attack on values and principles in this country, and
and a lot of people will argue, well, you know what, that's his political responsibility. He's not going to say something bad about the country, his own administration.
But, I understand. Take even that insult away. Yeah, but at the end of the day, he's right.
But that's the funny thing, though. That's the funny thing. That is his job. His job is to protect his country, to obviously protect his people, protect his administration. Sure. So for anybody to say, well, he's just doing that for political points and for political reasons, at a domestic level, when we're talking about inside our borders, you can literally say that there's only two guys playing the political arena, Democrats and Republicans. Yeah. Everybody else that wants to claim in between, you're not even on the map. You're wasting a vote right now. Maybe at some point, somebody said, "But we got to start heading in that direction at some point." Not right now. The issues are so delicate that you can't be, wishy-washy in the whole situation. You better have a very strong position about something. But at an international level, though, it doesn't work like that. As a matter of fact, I think that's the misguided idea, that people think that it's the East and the West. No. You have some significant players right now that are already fighting for superpower positioning type of structure. And a lot of people think that because of the proximity of Russia to Europe, well, it's the same. No. They are a different player. Europe is a different player. United States is a different player. China is a different player. India is now also a different player entering into that arena. So the reason why I'm saying that is because the argument that some people are making is that is precisely what the United States wanted to avoid. An alliance where Russia was going to be the one coming out ahead, not just because they ended up benefiting financially more than anybody else, but because they actually managed to create an effective alliance with Europe, with China, with India, and removing the United States as the main player of the. So when you're saying self-interest, 100%. The problem is who's playing what role at this very moment? Because at the end of the day, like who's the real bad guy, man? When it comes to this type of at that level of gamemanship, it's a whole different. The most of us even have a hard time trying to comprehend it. So it's not even just a question of giving somebody the benefit of the doubt. I think that a lot of information, a lot of the things that are playing out are happening at such a deep-rooted type of level that we're not gonna know for a long time. This is what I'm talking about.
That's true.
Another classified.
So we're getting a black eye in very different aspects.
Well, it depends who's making the argument, but I think if we make a fair argument right now, there's a lot of things that if the idea was to end the conflict, there's a number of other things that we could have done to end the conflict. One of them is, forcing everybody to come to the table, making it very clear to Ukraine that you're going to have to make some concessions, making it very clear to Putin, you're going to have to make some concessions. They made it very clear, we're going to take your economy down. We're going to take that gas pipeline, the second one that was built, is going to disappear. Nobody wants to claim credit for who blew that one. You know what I mean? But that one was blew underwater, deep underwater. There's only a few countries that have the capability to make that happen. And unfortunately, as a country, our current president even make the statement to say, "Oh no, that's not going to stay on. We're gonna. How are you going to get rid of it? Well, don't worry about it. We're going to get rid of it." I like it. So this was one of those incriminating videos that, without this war, like I said, I don't know what this man would have been. I don't know what the development of the Russian Orthodox Church will have been, but I am hoping and praying at this point, whatever game plan was at the end, which is to, even if you want to say we're gonna destabilize the region so that we can come, whoever the main bad characters and main bad players were. I hope they already got enough out of it to start bringing this to a conclusion, because we still have people dying, we still have people out on the street, we still have people going through horrible situations, and this is one of those things that I hope it ends. I don't think that Russia or President Putin is going to be in a situation where history, I think there's going to be a group of people that will definitely be extremely critical. Rightfully so, you know what I mean? Especially the ones that got affected directly for some of the actions. But for some of the other players from the outside, they're looking at this guy and saying, this guy makes a lot of sense about a lot of things, and in all fairness, you know what I mean? When you're talking about somebody who's defending his country, who's defending the right to exist, he's defending his own economy, he's defending his own people. You know what I mean? It's very difficult that if you want to have at least an honest observation about what's taking place there. So, like many things in life and politics, it's not that simple. With that being said, guys, we are deeply grateful. We want to hear your opinion about some of these topics.
Comment below.
Every single one
Do
of them.
you vote? Now the question is if you vote.
Or, again, if you're concerned about losing your job and any of these recommendations, if you're part of that group, you know what I mean? Let us know. By the way, any other recommendations that you will issue to somebody, share with us, you know what I mean? Any other things that you think that would be helpful for somebody, just in case they can be facing
Why
that.
should you stay away from buying?
And be careful, don't buy that car. Stay away from the Ferraris right now, right?
Not the time.
With that being said, everybody, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
This is number
we truly
one.
appreciate
this
it.
Is number two.
If you like any of this information, pass it around, subscribe, like, and please do comment. I appreciate you guys. Take it easy.
Awesome.